प्रपन्न पारिजाताय स्तोत्रवेत्रैकपाणये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतदुहे नमः। We are at a very important shloka of the Bhagavad Geeta. This is a shloka where those who follow Jnana Yoga, the path of wisdom, may stop and stay there for a very long time. For this is such a shloka, Brahmarpanam Brahmahavi, which does not spare any situation, any scenario, any setting from its reach. In any human scenario, it is possible for a Jnana Yogi to look at everything as one pure consciousness. It is pure consciousness, Chit alone, that is the subject and the object. The table in front of you, the chair in front of you, anything and everything around you is not separate from you. The object is not really an object. The object is the subject itself appearing as the object. The Yushmad is not separate from Asmad. Yushmad, that is you, he, she, it, and so on, and Asmad, I, we, etc., together are an appearance, scratch the surface. The truth of both Yushmad and Asmad is the Shuddha Atma, that unlimited, unbounded, and of course unbound I is what is involved in the realization Aham Brahma Asmi. There is Brahma only, and I am that Brahman. Everyone is Brahman. The hills and rivers are Brahman. In this way, this is a mind-blowing pinnacle of Jnana Yoga. I have read somewhere that there was a bhakta, a devotee of Sri Krishna. When he came to a certain verse in the first chapter of the Bhagavad Geeta, where Sanjaya reports to Dhritarashtra, and then the chariot having Sri Krishna and Arjuna came to the scene. Madhava and Pandava came to the scene. Both of them were seated on a magnificent chariot. There is a shloka in the first chapter. Ata shvetair hayer yukte mahati syandane stitau madavaha pandavaschaiva Shadivyau Shankau Pradadmatahu. They came over and and they blew their divine conscious. The 14th verse. Tata Shvetair Hayer Yukte Mahati Syandane Stitau Madhava Pandavaschaiva Divyau Shankau Pradadmatuhu. First chapter, 14th verse. And this devotee of Sri Krishna every time wanted to study Bhagavad Geeta, came only up to this 14th verse, and as the image of Madhava and Pandava, Sri Krishna and Arjuna came before his eyes, he just melted in devotion. Tears flowed from his eyes. He could not go further. What an interesting scenario. He closed the Bhagavad Gita book and put it down. And next day or after a couple of days, he picks up the Gita again, goes up to 1.14. That's about it. 14 verses is all that he studied in Bhagavad Gita. Out of 700, 686 verses the poor man did not touch at all. I am saying this in a manner of saying, because this 24th verse is like that for Jnana yogis. When they come to the 24th verse, where it is said, in a yajna, the spoon with which you offer something, the fire into which you offer, the person who is offering, the destination or karma phala where one has to reach. And all that happens when the performer looks at the karma as no different from the all-pervasive Brahman. Therefore, Brahman is the subject, Brahman is the object, Brahman is the instrument, Brahman is someone for whom something is done, Brahman is one from whom something is taken away. Brahman is the adhisthana or the location where things happen. These are called 6 karakas. Those of you who have learned some Sanskrit grammar, and similar grammar is in all languages, but in the form of vibhakti, it is in some European languages too. So, Ram reads a book. Ram is the subject. The book is the object. He reads the book with his eyes. Eyes are the instrument. He reads it for the pleasure of his mother. And so, for the sake of his mother, who is happy that the boy is reading, that for the mother is called the 4th karaka. And then he has just taken that book which he is reading from his sister. Give me that book, I want to read it, he says, and takes it from his sister. So from is another karaka. And all this is happening in his little house in Chennai, in Mylapore, near Kapalishwara temple. So that location, Mylapur Prante, Chennai Nagare, Tishtati, Upavishati, Pustakam Patati Ramaha. So, where he sits, what he reads, with what he reads, for whose pleasure, taking the book from whom, who reads, all these are components. Just as in a modern cricket match, you have a bowler, there is a batsman, there is an umpire, there are spectators, there are fielders, and many other people, the media people, and so on and so forth. So, in any scenario, in any setting, there are components that constitute that whole state of affairs, the whole activity. And this shloka 24 says, without mincing words, that every component, the giver and the receiver, and the whole list, everything is Brahma only. Last class we saw the meanings of the verses, meanings of the words of the verse. Now, before going to a Purva Paksha, that is, some opponent who wishes to give some other meaning to the shloka, there are 2 paragraphs by the Siddhanti himself, and that's something which we have already explained in English, but we will now take a look at Adi Shankara's simple, prasanna gambhira Sanskritam. He says in his commentary on 4.24, Brahmarpanam Brahmahavihi, evam lokasangraham chikirshuna api kriyamanam karma paramarthataha akarma. Earlier also Sri Shankaracharya talked about two categories of jnanis. One category of jnanis practically leave everything. They just do a little movement to keep the body alive. Second category of jnanis, they also have the jnana, but for some reason, because of some prarabdha, they are engaged in service of the society. Shukamuni could be an example for the first category, who just walks away, and Janaka can be an example for the second category, who, despite having the highest wisdom, stays put in the position of the king of a country. So, Loka Sangraham Chikir Shuna is a reference to the second category, and Shankaracharya unhesitatingly says, in the case of such people who, in the eyes of others, are engaged in activity, they may be staying with their spouse and children. They may be going to the bank withdrawing money, another day depositing, whatever. In their case also, what seems to be karma is actually akarma, paramartataha akarma. Why? How can that be? I see that person doing things. You see an enlightened woman. One day you saw her getting angry with somebody. Another day she was asking for one more gulab jamun. Huh? She's just like us. Where is the difference? We may tend to think we have not examined her carefully. Do not judge saints and sages in a haste. You were drawn to them, and later on, as you saw them closely, your mind began to doubt. This happens at many places. I do not say all those so called saints are truly great saints. There may be some fake ones, but who is genuine and who is fake is not to be decided in a haste. Hold on. Apparently, from a distance, this enlightened lady could be yelling at somebody one day, asking for another sweet another day, which are all common behavior of regular people. Here is this illumined woman. So are we to judge just because she asked for a second helping of some sweet? Just because she screamed at somebody on some small matter? Are we to conclude that she is not illumined? Her karma should be understood from her own point of view. So you need to examine more carefully. Lokasangraham chikirshuna api kriyamanam karma akarma eva paramartataha. And that illumined woman has that paramartha drishti, the supreme vision. Shankara gives a basis for how karma becomes akarma for her in a single compound word. Brahma buddhi upamriti tattva. Or she has Brahma buddhi. She has the understanding. Everyone, everything is Brahma. That is Brahma buddhi. Buddhi here means understanding. Upamriti tattva. Upamritita means destroyed. Upamritita means erased. The structure, the divisive structure is removed by Brahma Buddhi. In her case, even as she is scolding somebody, the understanding, the one being scolded and the one who is scolding are both Brahma, does not leave her. Evam Sati, then what to talk about the Shuka Muni category who are not into Loka Vyavahara. Evam Sati, Nivritta Karmanaha api Sarva Karma Sannyasinaha. This category, call it A, and Janaka Maharaj category we considered, can be called category B. The A category, Nivritta Karma, someone like Ramana Maharshi, to a great extent, 99%, was not into any earning or spending. I left out 1% because he did go to kitchen, did do some work. He did at places do things which were not different from what worldly people would do. When in a court of law, he was asked, "Are you the owner of this land?" Rather than saying, "I don't own anything, I don't need anything," he said, "Yes, I am the owner of these acres of land." The case was dismissed. Somebody had alleged that this Maharshi Ramana and his devotees are in possession, in illegal possession of some land. And it went to the court. And there was a statement from Maharshi Ramana. He quietly said, "I own all this." According to the laws prevailing at that time, if some sadhu has been living in a certain place for a length of time, it could become his. It could become his. There are similar laws today also, something called adverse possession, etc. You have been living in a certain place, you have been taking care of it, and it is yours now. So when he said, "Yes, I am the owner of these acres of land where I live, where some of my students live," the judge said, "Well, if you say that, the matter ends." So, except for one or two such occasions, otherwise, Maharshi Ramana was Nivritta Karma. Nothing, no worldly action touched him. Sarva Karma Sannyasinaha. He gave up, renounced all action. Samyak Darshana Stuti Artham, for praising this unitary vision where the object-subject division vanishes, Yajnatva Sampadanam Jnanasya Sutaram Upapadyate. This Yajnatva Sampadanam Jnanasya, that is, Yajna can also be a Jnana. That is, Jnana itself is Yajna. I should put it that way. Jnanam eva Yajna. Ordinarily, how do you do a Yajna? You need to create that sacrificial pit. You need to light up fire. You need to have some material. That is Yajna. But here, this shloka tells us, you want to perform a Yajna, we will tell you the highest Yajna. The highest Yajna does not require fire, bricks, havis. It doesn't require people to attend. Wherever you are, whatever you may be doing, if you have jnana, if you have that vision where everything is Brahma, that is a yajna. Jnanasya yajnatva sampadanam. That is, yada jnanam yajnaha bhavati. Upapadyate. Then, yad arpanadi adiyajne prasiddham. In the physical context, where arpana, a spoon, is taken in the hand, some ghee is put in it, and we offer it to fire. That is called the regular physical setting of the yajna. Adi yajne, in that context of physical yajna, you do have actually physical ladle or spoon, but that is used in the shloka to point out to us the adhyatma. Tasya adhyatmam brahma eva paramarthadarshinaha iti. So in the context of a physical yajna, and that is just one example, in the context of millions of varieties of human activities, it is possible. Paramartha darshinaha, for someone who has the vision of Paramartha, everything comes across, everything is understood as Brahma. Anyata sarvasya brahmatve arpanadinameva visheshato brahmatvabhidhanam anarthakam syat. Because the context, the present context is samyak darshana, this arpana, that is a spoon filled with ghee, is used in a yajna, would not be interpreted in any other way. If you interpret it this way, then it becomes the representative. If otherwise, as Purva Pakshi will later say, it will not justify or support this samyak darshana, the breaking down of duality, which is the context. Therefore, 24th verse has to be interpreted in the context of or in the sense of samyak darshana, right seeing. Otherwise, anarthakam syat. This cannot be for upasana. Then the main purpose will not be served. Shankara argues later very vehemently that we have arrived at a point where the context is 100% samyak darshana. Therefore, this analogy has to serve that particular purpose of conveying samyak darshana. In the next paragraph, Bhashyakara says, Tasmat Brahma eva idam sarvam iti abhijanataha vidushaha karma abhavaha. Anyone who knows Brahma eva idam sarvam, everything is Brahma. Sarvam khalu idam Brahma, says the third chapter of Chandogya Upanishad. Sarvam khalu idam Brahma. Brahmaivedam sarvam. For vidusha, vidusha means for a vidwan who knows this, no karma is taking place at all. So when they asked Nisargadatta, the enlightened man in Bombay, who lived up to something like 1983, what's the difference between your world and our world? His answer was really something that would raise anybody's eyebrows. He said, in your world, lot of things happen. In my world, nothing happens at all. Karma abhavaha. Karaka buddhi abhavacha, says Bhashyakara. Karaka buddhi is where we take the subject, the object, the instrument, and so on as real. We take these divisions as real. If I am eating a laddu, I say, look, laddu is an object, period. And I am the subject, period. Don't talk more. The object is an object and the subject is the subject. Don't mix them up, etc. So that is called Karaka Buddhi. For a pen with which you write a letter cannot be the letter also. The pen is the instrument, the letter is the final product of your activity, and it will be posted to reach Hyderabad, some friend of yours, Gantavyam. Asya patrasya kim gantavyam, where should this letter reach? After I finish it, I'll put it in an envelope, seal it, put a stamp, post it. It will reach somebody in Hyderabad, living in Banjara Hills, you say Gantavyam. But in Brahma Buddhi, Gantavyam, Lekakaha, Likitam Patram, everything is Brahma only. Karaka is where those different components. In a cricket match, the bowler is different, the batsman is different. Don't go and say, I see all of them one only, they are Brahma. Why did you go to the cricket match then? Or you could be a Brahmajnani, enjoying the play, but inwardly having the vision of the one. But ignorant people take Karaka, the different components of an activity, as literally, indeed, different. Nahi Karaka buddhi rahitam yajnakyam karma drishtam. We never see a yajna, a Vedic sacrifice, where the performers have given up the idea of karaka. Nahi na drishtam. Sarvameva agnihotrādikam karma shabda samarpita devata vishesha sampradhanādi karaka buddhimat. All this karma, if you look around, wherever some yajna is being performed, sarvam agnihotrādikam. Agnihotra is another mini yajna. Yajna-akhyam, that's what generally we call Yajna-akhyam. Akhyam means named, called. It has Karaka Buddhi. Karaka Buddhi Rahitam na Drishtam. And so it said Agnihotraadikam Karma Shabda Samarpita Devata Vishesha Sampradhanadi Karaka Buddhimat. Buddhihi Asya Asti Iti Buddhimat. This karma has that Buddhi, that understanding. Which understanding? There is a certain Devata, Indra. Indra idam namama, you say, and put the offering. You visualize Indra over there to receive your offering. Indra Shabda you have used. Shabda Samarpita. And going with that Shabda, there is actually a certain Indra Devata. Devata Vishesha. Next offering you may say Varunaya idam namama. Swaha. And then Varuna Shabda points to someone, a Devata Vishesha called Varuna. Sampradana. It is meant, this second offering is meant for Varuna. So in this way, number one, all these notions are very much part of a performance. Number two, Kartritva Abhimana. The performer thinks, I am doing something extraordinary today. This yajna is a big affair and I am doing it. So the doership, phala abhisandhi. Typically in any action, we are very keen to get phala. Abhisandhi means being attached. We are very attached to phala. And Shankara says, Na upamradita kiya kriya karaka phala veda buddhimat. We don't find yajna wherever it is going on, marked by the erasure of the notion of divisions and differences. Upamradita kiyakaraka phalaveda buddhimat na drishtam. And same way, go around anywhere and look at some yajna. Is there anybody performing without doership? Kartatva abhimana rahitam karma drishyate kim? Or abhisandhi rahitam phala abhisandhi. Do you see anywhere somebody performing without a result or wanting result? You don't. But though it is very hard to find, Shankara argues, the Vedanta is meant to point to something which is generally unseen. Idam tu brahma buddhi upamradita arpanadi karaka kriya phala bheda buddhi karma. So this is a cut above all. This is an extraordinary case where upamardita, right? Brahma buddhya upamardita, that idea, the spoon is different from me, is upamardita or upamradita, removed. And I need to go to heaven where I am not at this moment, dismissed. I am already in heaven. Heaven and hell and earth and other lokas are in me, is the quiet understanding of realization. So when such a realization is, next sentence says, Ataha akarma eva tat. It is not karma, it is karma. Outwardly we may be doing. In our understanding, we are not doing anything and no work is taking place. So tatacha darshitam, the rest of this paragraph is Adi Shankara giving references. So many shlokas before this and after this are in support of Samyak Darshana. Therefore, do not, out of context, interpret this shloka as an upasana. Where was it said that karma can become a karma? In the 18th verse, this whole topic began. Karmani akarmaya pashet. He who sees akarma in karma and karma in akarma is wise, was said. And in 4th chapter, this very chapter which you are studying, in the 20th verse it was said, Karmani abhipravrittopi. Though one is engaged in some action from the eyes of others, naiva kinchit karoti. Doesn't do anything at all. And in 3rd chapter itself, a little way was paved. A shloka paved the way for this understanding. Which one was that? 28th verse in 3rd chapter. Guna guneshu vartante. Prakriti does everything. You are not a doer. Then in the 5th chapter, which is yet to come, there is a powerful line. A wise person all the time understands. Naiva kinchit karomiti yukto manyeta tattvavit. Chapter 5, verse 8 is referred to in advance by Bhashyakara, Adi Shankaracharya. Tatha cha darshayan tatra tatra, again at various places. Tatra tatra means to different places. Kriyakaraka phalabheda buddhi upamardam karoti. Upamardana, erasure, removing, destruction. So Sri Krishna will show at many places. Drishta cha kamya agnihotrado kama upamardena kamya agnihotradi hani. Leave alone that highest plane of wisdom. On the level of karma also, a kamya karma can turn into something which is not a kamya karma. Kamya means desire prompted. There was a time when, let us say, you were teaching children for the good salary you were getting at your school or college. After your retirement, you are teaching some children in the neighborhood, poor children, maybe less hours than in your full-blown profession. But you do not take money, you do not want name or fame, then work is the same. But earlier it was kamya, now it is not kamya. So Agnihotra also could be for less mature people, kamya karma. For advanced people, it is a kamya karma. Kama upamardena. What makes a particular action desire prompted or desireless? It is presence or absence of desire in you. There's no difference in what you do. Earlier also, you taught science and maths. Earlier also, you taught history and civics. Now also you are teaching these children. Work is the same. But earlier, you had desire for good pay from your school. You are hoping for an increment. You are looking for some appreciation from the principal or the management. Now you don't want anybody's appreciation. Therefore, Agnihotra also could be outwardly same but inwardly different. Therefore, in countless activities, now Adi Shankara makes a sweeping statement, Tatha Mati Purvaka, Amati Purvaka. Mati means buddhi, here intention. Mati Purvaka, you do things intentionally. Amati Purvaka, unintentionally. So in a wide range of activities which could be done intentionally or done unintentionally, you find that when there is desire, karya visheshasya arambhatvam. Intentionally or unintentionally, on a plane of less maturity, we carry desires. Like we went to a mall just to see what is new. And then certain things attracted us. We had no intention to do shopping that day. We just went to take a walk actually. But as our eyes fell on certain new goods displayed there, unintentionally we had gone, now we are buying. Some other time intentionally we carried a list with us. These are the things we need to buy at the mall. We drove to the mall. So buddhi purvakam, abuddhi purvakam, mati purvakam, amati purvakam. Once our actions are driven by desire, which may pop up at any moment, karma phala is bound to happen. Karma phala is the aramba. Karya vishesha, karya effect. Effect is phala. Karma is the cause. Karya visheshasya karma phalasya arambakatvam drishtam tata ihapi. Likewise, here too, there is a big issue here. Brahma buddhi upamradita arpanadikaraka kriya phalabeda buddhehe bahya cheshta matrena karma api vidushaha akarma sampadyate. So here there is Brahma buddhi operating. Everything is Brahma. That understanding operates. It eliminates all the notions of divisions of subject, object, and so on. So, though outwardly cheshta matrena, outwardly one is doing things, but for this vidwan, vidushaha means for this vidwan, karma, akarma sampadyate. And in an earlier verse, 423, we are now in 424. So just immediate previous verse, there was a powerful expression by Sri Krishna. Samagram karma praviliyate. All karma is dissolved, erased, made ineffectual, Sri Krishna had said. So with all this, he makes a strong case for the particular present verse to be nothing but praise of Samyak Darshana. Now he takes up the argument by some Purvapaksha, an opposition party. He says in the next paragraph, Atra kechit ahuhu. Atra, in this matter, kechit, some people ahuhu, speak. Some say something like this. So they cannot appreciate this Advaita Darshana. They look at it as an impossibility. Then they respect Bhagavad Gita. So what meaning would they attach to this 24th shloka? They say, well, if it is said Brahma Arpanam and Brahma Havihi, there is in Upasana the practice of looking at a stone as Shalagrama and as Mahavishnu. Looking at another stone as Shivalinga. And you sit before that stone and sing hymns, various stutis. Brahma Murari Surarchita Lingam Tat Pranamami Sadashiva Lingam. You bow down before a stone. In 1994 or so, in the Golden Gate Park of San Francisco, suddenly one morning, workers found a very huge, maybe 6 feet tall or so, stone, cylindrical, but its top was a little curved. It was in behind some bushes. They pulled it out. They were wondering, how come this kind of stone came up here? And even as the workers of the Golden Gate Park near the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco were wondering, a number of Hindus living in the neighborhood, maybe in 5 miles radius, somehow came to know. Many of them rushed. Many of them made it sit vertically and gave it a wash. They brought milk. They brought various puja samagri and they started worshipping it. Workers said, what's going on? Workers then reported to some higher authorities. When the higher authorities managing the Golden Gate Park came there, the Hindus said, this is Shivalinga. This is our, God represented like this. And then others said, no, no, no. This some years ago, this was a road roller to level ground. They had got this from somewhere. They made it using some equipment. They made it move back and forth, and all the soil was leveled, made flat, and then it was left behind here, behind the bushes. These people said, whatever it was, but this is the perfect shape, a solid, big stone, cylindrical, so cross section is circle. On top there is a curved crown. So this is Shivaling. I remember I was very new in USA at that time. And some news reporter called me. Are you a religious teacher of Hinduism and so on? Ah, yes, yes. So what do they mean by Shiva Linga and so on? Looking back, I don't think I answered him very well, but he asked various questions. Does it represent the male sexual organ? And such questions he asked. So whatever some reply I gave, it's a symbol, it symbolizes infinity. And some tantra, which is less than 1% of Hindu practices, they may attach a certain symbolism, but there again it is more symbolic. There is Shiva as the energy that brings about creation, but that meaning is not to be taken. Something I gave and said, thank you very much. It came in many newspapers. So, Shiva Linga, Hindus made it, actually I don't know what happened finally, whether the authorities permitted the Hindus to worship it later on over there, or one fine morning quietly they took away that stone. We don't know. I should check with somebody living in that area. But long back, 1994, 28 years ago. So let's see what Purvapakshis say. Atra kechit ahu yad brahma tad arpanadini. It is said, this spoon, etc. is Brahma. Brahmaiva kila arpanadina panchavidhena karakatmana vyavastitam sat tadeva karma karoti. So there are some 5 kinds of components are involved in a yajna, panchavidhena karaka. The 5 could be, it's not clear which 5 they are, but 5 could be the fire in which you put the offering, the spoon with which you take the offering, you, the performer, the destination where you need to go, and other participants, maybe the priest who guides you. So 5 kinds of karaka. But then the Purvapakshi's main point is Tatra na arpanadi buddhihi nivartyate. At no point that division, this is the spoon and I am holding it. That division never goes, says Purvapakshi. Just as in Upasana, you take a stone as Shivalinga, you take a stone as Mahavishnu. In Upasana, you don't say, I am Mahavishnu, I am that stone, I am the one worshipped. Just in Upasana, duality remains in simple terms. Arpana adi buddhihi na nivartyate. Kintu arpanadishu brahma buddhi adiyate. We impose or superimpose a certain divinity in that stone. That's about it. There the matter stops. We don't say that Shivalinga and I are one, etc. Yatha pratima adav. I said Shalagrama, but the Purvapakshi says a statue, an idol of Mahavishnu. In that idol, which we bought just yesterday from somewhere, then gave a bath and then put some kumkum haldi and so on. And it no more is a piece of art, which is Mahavishnu for us. Vishnu adi buddhihi yatha adhiyate. Or sometimes we don't even need a stone or a murti made of panchaloha. In the nama, when we say Narayana, it's a sound, it's a name. But in that name, Narayana, we have the understanding this is God. But there also duality doesn't go. This is his objection. However, Adi Shankara answers very patiently. There is not much really. Satyam, in Upasana we do that, he agrees. And evam api syat, that could be the meaning if the present context were not Advaita Darshana. Evam api syat, it could have been like that. That meaning would have been okay. Yadi jnana yajna stutyartam prakaranam na syat. Prakarana means the present context. Prakarana is the present matter, topic on hand. The present topic is jnana drishti, not upasana drishti. Atra tu samyak darshanam jnana yajna shabditam. Later on, there is going to be, she is quoting, Shreyan Dravyamayad Yajnat Jnana Yajnaha. There is a 33rd verse in this very chapter. There is a yajna where you actually use material, whereas there is a Jnana Yajna which is higher, where without doing anything or in the midst of any action going on, you have a different drishti. Atra tu samyak darshanam jnana yajna shabditam anekan yajna shabditan kriya visheshan upanyasya. Sri Krishna is going to tell us several yajnas which are all on the lower level. But in 33rd verse, he makes a remarkable statement. Dravya yajnat jnana yajnaha shreyan is higher. Iti jnanam stauti. Atra cha samarthamidam vachanam brahmarpanam ityadi jnanasya yajnatva sampadane. So this brahmarpanam shloka also is very much in line with that statement which is going to come. How here also jnana, the understanding itself is a yajna. This is the beauty of Jnana Yoga. If you have the maturity to scale the heights, to rise to the heights, then as you are into any activity, you are taking breakfast, you are taking bath, that is a yajna. Because moment while taking bath, if you have not words, not mere words, if you have an understanding, actually there is no I. Separate from this water. The one who is taking bath, the water which is falling upon my head, the soap, the towel hanging over there, all these are appearances on pure consciousness. In this way, if you have a certain outlook, that becomes a yajna. Brahmarpanam is just an example given. It could be bath, it could be breakfast. Anyata sarvasya brahmatve arpanadinam eva visheshato brahmatva vidanam anartakam syat. Said before also. Otherwise, this whole reference would be meaningless in the present context. The reference to a physical yajna is to pave the way to help us understand the jnana yajna, great sacrifice of the supreme understanding. Then, yetu arpanadishu pratimayam vishnu drishtivad brahma drishti kshipyate. Brahma drishti, this is Brahma, imposed on a statue of Vishnu. Or namadishu iva cha bruvate, some say bruvate. Some people say, in a name we could superimpose God. Natesham Brahma Vidya Ukta iha vivakshita syat. There may be scriptural portion somewhere else, but here Brahma Vidya is spoken of. Advaita Darshana is spoken of. And he makes a nice statement after saying Arpanadi Vishayatvat Jnanasya. The reference to Arpana is the spoon, is for Jnana. He makes the statement, Nahi Drishti Sampadana Jnanena Moksha Phalam Prapyate. Upasana is superimposing an idea, whereas Jnana is understanding. See, there's a big difference between visualizing. You visualize a rope. where you are actually seeing a snake. That doesn't take you far. You know it is a rope. That sets you free. So drishti sampadana is just visualizing. Somebody tells you there is no snake, visualize a rope. And with your capacity of imagination, you imagine there is a rope. That may give you a little relief, not much. Whereas when you throw a beam of light upon what is looking like a snake, and you see that it is a rope, real jnana is seeing that you are everything. So, nahi drishti sampadana jnanena, upasanena, moksha phalam prapyate, brahmaiva tena gantavyam, iti cha uchyate. So, that the destination also Brahma is said, will be said, and viruddham cha samyak darshanam antarena moksha phalam prapyate iti. If you think upasana leads you to moksha, that's not acceptable. Samyak darshana matrena is only by samyak darshana. Prakrita virodascha. Otherwise, you are distorting the context. Prakrita means context. Samyak darshanancha prakritam. The present context is the ultimate right seeing. Samyak means right. Karmani akarmaya pashet 418. And ante cha samyak darshanasya eva upasamharat 433. In 433, which is another 9 verses to go, it is said, Dhana yajna is way higher than Dravya yajna. Dhanam labdva param shantim. Before concluding the chapter, supreme peace is promised for someone having Dhanam. Upasana Jnana doesn't give supreme lasting peace. It gives some peace, some happiness, some powers also, but that is not liberation. Ityadina samyak darshana stutimeva kurvan upakshinaha adhyaya. The whole chapter winds to a close with the praise of samyak darshana. He has not mentioned, there are some others also, nahi jnanena sadrisham sarvam jnana pravenaiva vrajinam santarishyasi. If you want to cross all sorrow, all sin, all contradiction in your life, the only tool is jnana. Nothing else can free you from sorrow. He said towards the end of this chapter, Tatra akasmat, suddenly from somewhere, arpanada brahma drishtihi, if you bring such interpretation, it's an upasana, then aprakarane pratimayam yo vishnu drishti uchyate iti anupapannam. That's not valid. Upapannam means valid, anupapannam. Tata yata vyakyatam artaha eva ayam shlokaha. So we have given you that this meaning, that the shloka is to point to samyak darshan, where duality breaks down, duality is erased, plurality is erased. Whereas in upasana, plurality is not erased. For heaven's sake, dear Purvapakshi, do not drag this verse 24 down to the level of upasana, says the Siddhanti Bhāshya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.